Welcome to The Process with me, your host, Adam Summer.
Welcome into this episode of The Process. This is Adam Summer. Good to be back with you after a week off. I've been very, very busy between the snow and business transition work on my end. Just really couldn't find the time or the brain space to put together an episode, so took a week off. And, that's kind of what I told you the show would be. From time to time, I'd bounce in and bounce out, and it may not be every week, but I'll do my best to get one to you every single week. I hope you made it through, if you're in the Midwest, I hope you made it through the snow unscathed and unfallen. I know a few people that, took a tumble, but thankfully I was able to stay upright, ready to get a couple of days off. It's been a pretty long streak of being in the office at least a couple hours every day and getting things set up with business transition, like I mentioned, but feeling good, feeling ready. By the time you listen to this, the Chiefs will have already played their playoff game. And for longtime listeners who go back to the Heartland Pod days, you know that for me, that's a big deal. And I am gearing up. I'm recording this Friday afternoon because I'm gearing up to go to the game on Saturday. And Lord knows I am not going to want to do this on Sunday after being there. And I probably won't have the voice for it, frankly. So that's why I'm doing this right now. So go Chiefs. And hopefully when you're listening to this, we are preparing for the AFC Championship game. So, and for those of you who aren't football fans, everything I just said means nothing. But just know that the Kansas City Chiefs are very good at football, and they're having another elite season and potentially could win the Super Bowl. So very, very big deal. On this episode, I'm going to talk about kind of just the discussion around Facebook that I've been seeing, and I'm sure you've been seeing, and maybe you've been a part of, about the fact-checking stuff that, people are very excited about the fact that Facebook is not going to be fact-checking. And when I say excited, I mean just in a state of excitement. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's good or bad. It's like saying it's interesting. It just means it's that thing, right? So reminder, if you enjoy what I do, if you like my content, you can support me over on Patreon. I'm over there, The Process on Patreon. It's pretty easy to find. There is a link in the show notes to that. Or if you already have a Patreon account and you're listening to this and you want to do that, you can just go search for The Process. You go to patreon.com/The Process, and it should take you right where you need to go if you'd like to support me. And if not, you want to listen to for free, you can do that too. I don't gatekeep it that way. Just if you like what I do and you think it's nice to have somebody with this kind of content, then you can say thanks by throwing me a couple of bucks over there and helping pay for web hosting and stuff like that, and the little bit of time that I spend doing it. So I really appreciate all of you for being here, and let's get into the fact check frenzy. So in 2008, when Obama won his first term, there was no end to the analysis about how smart his campaign operation had been, especially in its use of social media, which at that time was really concentrated on Facebook. I don't recall a major outcry about fact-checking on Facebook, at least not then. But it was also a very, very different place, to be sure. Personally, I didn't even have a Twitter account until 2009, and you probably didn't either. And even then, my first my only Twitter account for a very long, other than the Heartland Pod that I ran, my personal Twitter account, I maybe had 130 followers or something like that. It was small, and I was mostly there for sports stuff. It's a great place. There was nothing better than like pre-Elon peak Twitter during live sporting events, and it's really the only thing I miss about it at this point, because it really is just a lot of fun. There's so many reactions, and there's people who have played the game, and media personalities, and there's all kinds of folks that are getting takes off on Twitter. Right? It's just kind of fun for that, and that's really all I did with it. And then that changed a little bit getting into politics, and that sort of exploded. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Kind of the difference, but. During the Obama administration, right, we're talking 08 to 16, it wasn't uncommon to see connections of big tech CEOs with the administration. In fact, the Trump 2016 run really pulled pretty heavily from the Obama 2008 model, with the social media platforms using them for organizing and messaging. And yet, I'm having a really hard time remembering Democrats freaking out about Barack Obama meeting with tech leaders. Fast forward to now, and the discourse is about the opposite happening. Right now, the yelling and ironically posting on social media about, well, social media, and in particular about fact-checking. So let's talk a little bit of history, right? In 2004, which is now 20 years ago, by the way, Facebook pops up for the first time. There was the early version, the Face Smash version that Zuckerberg made in 2003 at Harvard, which was, I think we can generously call it a dating site, but is more of like a stalking site for Zuckerberg. But at any rate, 2004, Facebook is really kind of a thing. And if you're of a certain age, you probably had a Facebook account for the first time in like late 04 or in 05. And if you're in that group, you were in college because that's how you got on Facebook. When it started, its main requirement was that you had to have a college email address. It was small, it was controlled, and it was slowly opened up to more and more colleges. But even as it grew, it was still college-based. In fact, my wife and I have a story about Facebook in college and switching schools and reconnecting because of seeing an update on Facebook about a school change. For a while, that was it, right? That's all that was there. It was just college kids posting pictures of parties, and organizing, going out, and there was political posting, but it wasn't like it is now. It wasn't so much propaganda style political posting. It was opinions, and then people would kind of hash it out a little bit. It kind of reminded me more of what you might get on Reddit to a certain way, where it was a little bit more controlled. If you've never used Reddit, it's basically a social media site where you have to. It's very hard to spam Reddit or use it in a bad way because of the way that they've set it up. But anyway, that's all there was for a long time, right? Just college kids being college kids kind of together. There was nobody's parents. No grandparents, aunts, uncles, drunk uncles for that matter. And it was essentially devoid of real corporate advertisement, especially compared to the bombardment of advertisement the platform has become these days. The original version of Facebook wasn't fact-checked either, like not the way that people are talking about now for sure. But it also wasn't a sample of the general population, right? It wasn't open to everybody. It was super gated. It was limited. It was essentially a gated community of college students and graduates who had those college emails. It was a small pot, right? Like a 5-quart type saucepan. And now it's the ocean. At some point, that pot, that water, it started to heat up, right? You know the analogy, the frog in the boiling pot. Well, in this case, the pot is massive and it's just continued to grow, and the frogs continued to multiply as the pot continued to grow. We didn't really notice when the corporation showed up because there was just so much else going on. It was so big, it was so vast. Right? If you're in the middle of the ocean and somebody drops down, a massive ship, it's going to make waves, but if you're not close enough to it, right, if there's so much ocean, you might not even notice it. And it didn't seem like anybody really minded either. At least, at first, they sort of blended in, right? Lost in that sea of growing users. The pot grew, the water grew deeper. Have you ever waited for a huge pot of water to boil? It takes forever, especially if you watch it. So as the pot grew, we didn't notice that not only was it getting warmer, but the heat was turned up all the way. We're so busy liking and posting and commenting, and for the first time we could reconnect, we could stay connected, we could find communities all in one place, and then all on our phone. And now people are freaking out because Facebook won't be fact-checking. But here's the deal. Why? Why is that the line? Facebook has been full of false information since day one. It is, in its best iteration, it's a local watering hole where people can gather and gossip, essentially. Do you expect your bartender to fact-check every conversation? Maybe Facebook has a broader responsibility of some kind. Maybe there's a moral argument to be had about it. But in reality, it's just a place for you to go and input your data. Right? We know about Meta and its use of algorithms. We know. Maybe there should be a higher standard, but there isn't. Just the bottom line, there just isn't. The issue isn't really even so much about that. It's really more about our reliance on these platforms, our reliance. We have chosen to give Meta our agency. We've chosen to give Meta our data. Every time you post outrage and insults on Meta, you feed it. It's like an animal. It's just going to keep coming back for more. It'll keep putting things in front of you that make you roll your eyes and take to your keyboard so you can prove to your friends that you are, in fact, smarter and morally superior to the group you don't agree with. You can call people who vote differently than you dumb, and 20 people, or maybe 2, or maybe 200, can give you affirmation almost instantly. It's a powerful hit of dopamine. It can be addicting. You've seen it, right? You've seen maybe a friend or a loved one who they kind of have a post cycle. They'll post something sympathetic. It'll blow up. It'll get likes. It'll get comments. And then a day, 2 days, they'll post something else sympathetic. Likes and comments. They'll post something else. It's like a sugar cube for a mouse. I recall a conversation I had with someone who has a massive social media presence about their posting. I was talking to them about what they post. And I was concerned with the tone and the content of what they were posting. But in that conversation, they didn't share my concern. They expressed that their concern was about how they had posted this one particular thing, and they noticed that it wasn't getting likes as quickly. It wasn't getting engagement as quickly. They had thresholds in mind, 100, 500, 1,000 likes, reposts. That's what they were worried about. Not what they were saying, not how people might take it, not how it might actually impact things or move conversation, just were people engaging with it. That's it. That's the goal. Engagement. Dopamine. The mega accounts, the influencer accounts, very few, if any, have any worry at all about the quality, veracity, accuracy, or usefulness of their content. They're just focused on the quantity of their validation, not the quality. It's all about quantity. I get it. I mean, my main use of Twitter, like I said, was originally for sports content, right? And then I started into the political side, and the more I leaned into my own natural penchant for one-liners, the more successful my posts would be. Fun fact, my 7th grade geography teacher, he called me Mr. One-Liner. Straight up, that's what he called me. And looking back, he maybe he knew me better than most, but my jokes, my slams, my one-liners, my witty retorts, my quick turnarounds, I enjoyed them. People seemed to enjoy them, but they meant nothing. In the end, it was just about me feeding my own desire for external validation. It was just getting people to affirm that I was funny or smart or witty. And most dangerous of all, getting them to affirm that I was right. The more and more someone tells you that you are right, that you're special, that your opinions are better than everybody else's, the more and more and more you begin to think that way about your own opinions. That's what an echo chamber is. Your constant validation leads to a feeling of infallibility, the moral superiority. It leads to mistaking emotion and opinion as higher level rationality. We literally start to rationalize being irrational. The more we allow ourselves to operate without fully examining our own bias, our own emotion, our own assumption, the more we lose the barrier between what is rational and what is irrational. The more we allow ourselves to go down that path, the easier it becomes to lose sight of the human nature and the human quality of the people that we're actually interacting with on a day-to-day basis. We see it quite literally every time the presidency changes parties. Under Trump, Republican voters were shown to think the economy was great. Under Biden, within weeks, right? Not even enough time for anything to have happened. Within weeks, that number changed. and Democrats who were concerned about the economy under Trump, within the same weeks when nothing had happened, were suddenly confident about the economy under Biden. It's irrational. But if everybody's telling them that they're right, then they're going to rationalize their irrational behavior. Right? I'm not talking about actual economic measures, data, facts, markets, experts. No. I'm talking about general social media presence. Now that Biden's in charge, I feel better. Like, repost, comment, share. Oh, my opinion must be really smart. Look at all these people who think I'm smart. That means I'm right. It's very, very dangerous. The swing of economic approval based on party, it's just one example, but it's a good example of how we allow our irrational thoughts to swallow our own ability to examine the world in a rational way. Tools are based on use, not intent. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, bluesky, on and on. Personally, I like to use Facebook as a way to keep connection with family and friends and keep tabs on community events. It's handy as a central hub for those things. What I am not going to use Facebook for is my news. I don't go there to get facts. I don't go there to convince people that they should change their political views to agree with my own. It's not useful for that. Its value is in your choice on how to use it. You can want it to work a certain way. You can intend it to work a certain way. But like all other tools, their value is based on their use, not your intent. Facebook is like a firearm. It can be used as a tool. It can have a use that is not dangerous to people. It can have a function that is not harmful to you or others. But like a firearm, if not used safely, if left unattended with a child, or if used for something that doesn't match its purpose, problems will occur. You don't use a rifle to dig a hole, at least not if you don't absolutely have to. It would be hard to do. It'd probably damage the rifle. The same way expecting a rifle to be a shovel makes no sense, expecting a platform for pictures and college fun to turn into the factual clearinghouse for all news makes no sense. After all, it's just a corporation with $1 trillion market cap. If you're waking up every day expecting $1 trillion corporation to save you, to set the world straight, to make sure that your uncle who only watches Fox News tells the truth on the internet, it might be time for you to adjust your expectations. On my next episode, I'll be talking about one of the underlying issues with a company like Meta, which is corporate personhood and the rise of the mega rich. Thanks for stopping by. I hope that you have a great week. I'll see you next time, and until then, be well.
The process is made possible by listener support through Patreon. Go to patreon.com/theprocess or search The Process on Patreon. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for those of you who support me through Patreon to help me make this content and continue making it as long as possible. Enjoy American Aquarium, the world on fire. TV, trying to find some meaning, hoping that we'd wake up from this dream sometime tomorrow. Well, the night came and went, not a damn thing had changed. That's when I saw a tear fall from her eyes. She said, what are we gonna do? What's this world coming to? For the first time in my whole life, I stood there speechless. Must go boldly into the darkness.
come the home of the afraid, afraid of the world, afraid of the truth, afraid of each other. This ain't the country my grandfather fought for, but I still see the hate he fought against. Give rest to the tired, give mercy to the poor, give warmth to the huddled masses, and I'll show you freedom. The load is heavy and the road is long, and we've only begun the fight. We just can't give in, we just can't give up. We must go boldly into the darkness and be the light. I got a baby girl coming in the spring. I worry about the world she's coming into, but she'll have my fight, she'll have her mama's fire. If anyone builds a wall in her journey, baby, bust right through. The load is heavy and the road is long, and we've only begun the fight. We just can't give in, we just can't give up. We must go boldly into the darkness. The load is heavy and the road is long, and we've only begun to fight. We just can't give in, we just can't